Well, hello. My name is Vicki Westra, and I'm the founder of NeuroShifts and also the host of this podcast called Green Zone Talks. And green zone is what we describe, the zone. If you see the little chart behind me, there's red, yellow, and green. And green is the place where we're most connected to who we really are. So most aligned spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And so these podcasts were created really to help us within the neurodiversity community. We showcase people within the community who are in the green zone, who are living their most aligned life, and they share their experiences with us. And we also have guests like Donna today, who is really supporting the neurodiverse community. And so let me go ahead and introduce Donna. Donna is a social impact leader. She's an international best-selling author. She's a speaker, a course creator, a coach. You just have a lot of different titles. You wear a lot of different hats. But she's dedicated to creating a wiser and kinder world by making transformational education widely available. She wants everyone to have access to tools such as modern mindfulness, emotional awareness, and self-love, regardless of financial, social, or physical challenges. So your mission is very aligned with NeuroShift. So I'm very, very pleased to welcome you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I just want to let you know that since we spoke, because I met Donna a little while ago, but since we spoke, I was able to get your book, The Highest Frequency of Love, and it's unconventional solutions for parents of children on the autism spectrum. And so anyway, welcome. I want you to definitely talk about the book, but I, first of all, want to learn a little bit about you and your journey and our listeners too. And again, welcome to those who have joined us live. This will be going out on a podcast, but glad you're here. So Donna, share a little bit about who you are and what's kind of led you to this type of work.
Oh, that's such a wide.
It's very broad.
Well, actually, that's a perfect question because this journey over the past few years, I mean, it's been a whole life journey, but I want to say my transformation, which has led me to the practices and the tools that I want to say are, they're nothing new. It's ancient, it's getting back to our innate heart space as opposed to the clutter and chaos of the mind, right? Totally. But I literally started asking that question. And I think we all should. Who am I?
Who am I? Yeah.
Right? That's, and I used to say, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter.
Right.
I'm a worker, I didn't really know in words like how to, I knew I was more than that, but it really was a great practice for me to, it didn't happen overnight, but it was this a practice where I was growing and expanding and learning. And now my list of who am I is just so beautiful. And I'm so proud of it. And yeah, I'm a meditator, I'm a connector, I'm a listener, I'm a gratituder, I'm a coach, it can go on and on. And I just love that whole experience of discovering who am I? And it was literally, I feel like I went from Donna to Donna through this transformation. And yeah, so that's a little bit about who I am.
Yeah, I would say, I think it was Rumi that said, instead of being, this having this experience, human experience, we're actually a spiritual being having this human experience. So when you start looking at yourself in a spiritual way, it's so much more than just, a name or a body. It's there's a spirit side of you that when you're connected and aligned with who you were created to be, which I know you talk about in your book, who you were created to be, can really bring you a lot more meaning in your life. And so what would you say during the times we're in, because I know we're going to get into, you know, kind of the transformational piece. So just on a broader scale, you know, we're going through a lot of challenges worldwide, right? A lot of people are suffering from, you know, mental illness, and there's a lot of stress and anxiety that's come with the last few years. What do you think this time is, you know, is here to teach us, I guess, in that term, because it's a challenging time?
Oh, yes. I love this question. I feel that I do feel that at this time right now, and I think it's going to just expand even more collectively, people, I feel, are ready for this shift of, you know, asking more questions.
Right.
And asking questions like, who am I? And really like, you know, what is my purpose?
Right.
I think this is just happening on a much higher level than ever before. I feel it, I see it, I'm in it. And that's part of my journey, is helping guide people
Right.
to discover their hidden potential, their, you know, to forgive, to self-love, to make resolution with their past, to create space in their mind and body, to truly live and be able to live in a productive way, to rise and thrive.
Right.
And with purpose and with intention. And I think I'm one of those optimists. I really do feel that things are going to get better.
Yes.
But we have to go through all of this to help us discover and appreciate the simpler things.
Totally. Yeah, I
You
agree
know?
with you. I think you know, it used to be that you know, we'd call it midlife crisis. You know, you get to a point in your life where you start examining, like, who am I? What am I here for? What's my purpose? But I see that, you know, kind of really so much broader now, right? It's so many people at different levels. You know, I talk to young people that are asking themselves that question, you know, now. So I do think it's a really great time of reflection to say, you know, why are we here, you know, and how can we use this period to really evolve, you know, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and really kind of align with our purpose, you know, why we are here. So
And
yeah, so actually,
collectively.
yeah, collectively. And that has a great power, because the more people that align, and I always say this is, you know, like the movement, the more people that align with this and really embrace, you know, we're here for greater than just us, you know, there's a higher purpose, and somehow we're all connected, you know, we're all in this together. I think the more of us that feel that, the more we can elevate, you know, the world. You know, we can all rise rise together, rise up the energy together.
Oh,
So
absolutely. And that's what I teach too, is exactly what you're saying. How do we access a higher frequency, a level that's vibrates and radiates out into the world? Because we all want it. You know, of course, we all want to
definitely.
raise our love frequency, right?
Yes.
And yeah, and it's, you know, I think it's a continuing journey. And I think that's what's exciting about it as well, is that I really don't know how this, you know, I'm just open to the unexpected.
Right.
And I love not having to, dwell on the past and what am I, you know, like forcing things. Like I just am more present,
Right.
uh, and just taking action, you
Yes,
know, in exactly
definitely.
what you're saying, in that upliftment of within myself, and then irradiating that out into the world.
Totally. And that goes for all of us, for everyone. But I want to kind of get to, because obviously, NeuroShifts serves the neurodiverse community. And you wrote this book, and the book is really designed for parents, specifically for parents of children on the autism spectrum. So can you share how this came about, right? How your connection to autism evolved and why you wrote this book?
Okay. So I've always been drawn to special populations, I want to say, as originally as a trainer, as a coach. I always wanted to work with people, who have had strokes or handicapped, or, just a little bit different. And I wanted to, I just always liked to work with them on that, I was just always drawn to it. And I've developed a program called Compelling Fitness, and that was specifically designed for neurodivergent individuals. And that course, I had a lot of self-realization. I had this opportunity to really engage, and lots of great surprises with teaching that program and designing it. I was asked to design it, and I met with the individuals, and from nonverbal to high functioning, and it was just a beautiful group. And it allowed me to even take the training a step further, to like a call of action. So the two parts just blended beautifully. So I started the program with like intention setting and activating the parasympathetic nervous system to get them engaged and focused, setting an intention, using a visualization. A lot of these individuals are just naturally have a really good imagination. Yes. And they can understand, and through their energy, often we can communicate. So just kind of getting the group cohesive was actually not as challenging as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And then what developed was this whole universal language, right? We hear about it, but I literally was witnessing it, not with just myself and the individuals, but as a group.
Right.
And then bringing the kids, the individuals, this was a wide range of ages, into the open space where they were with other individuals who initially, were, whether it was frustrated, aggravated, unsure. So what happened was, week after week, people became more familiar, and I integrated the other members in the facility, and it was the end result was just amazing. So yeah, so that was, one of the things that had drawn me into this work. And
right.
I was asked to write the book.
Right.
And it just, everything I needed fell into place, as if as you read the book a little bit and perused
Yes.
it, you see how it's set up.
I did, because you're not a mom. So just to be clear with those listening in, you're not a mom of a child on the autism spectrum, but throughout the book, you actually do speak and quote parents of those with autism who, for me, are very evolved already on their journey. They're in the green zone. And so, it was through those challenges that they, got a different realization about what is autism, what is it here to teach us? What are these individuals here to do for our world? Because I do feel they have a purpose in playing a role in what we're going through, this evolution. of our world. And so what you described to me though with your course is, I share that experience because sometimes individuals come in and they're in the red zone, right? Sometimes being out in the world, you're frustrated, you're angry, may not understand even, your own diagnosis. That goes for individuals that do. Sometimes we are viewing it through a different lens, right? A negative lens. And when we start seeing who we truly are, we can start shifting ourselves into the green zone. And that seems like that's the experience you had as well, Donna. You shifted, these individuals go into the green zone where we're all kind of interconnected, and sometimes even non-speakers, they don't have maybe the language, like the communication, but you can communicate with people at such a different level when you're all in that place together, I learned that very closely because our daughter is part of the non-speaking community. She is a minimal speaker. And so I learned when these individuals get together, it's like they're communicating on a whole different realm, And so it's kind of like, sometimes I equate it to those shows, those futuristic shows where people are telepathically communicating. It's just, it's a multi-sensory kind of experience to be with these individuals. And it just shows how much of ourselves is energy, how much energy plays into it. It's kind of, for those of you who don't know the term, it's kind of like when you walk in a room and you feel somebody's energy, it could be like a cloud, someone who's very negative, you can feel that. And the same with someone who's very joyful, you can feel that as well, So I think it's a great experience. So you created the course. And you called it fitness. Was it physical fitness or was it more emotional, mental fitness?
It was a little bit of everything. It was some mindset. It was physical, meditative. So I just loved what you said. I do also feel that these kids, these individuals are here to help heal our world.
Yes.
And they're here to teach us, right?
Totally.
These kids, they are pure love, I want to say. They don't manipulate and try to fit in per se, like naturally. They just are who they are, and it's just it's beautiful. And I feel like we have so much to learn and teach and share together.
Sure.
To be. And
that's been my experience too. Very authentic, and not that masking doesn't go on, because there is that element of it, sometimes trying to fit in, but for the most part, I think, they're very authentic to who they are. There's not a lot of judgment, and I'm generalizing, but I just see that's the beauty part of it that I see. That's really what we want more. We want to be able to be our authentic selves and be able to love each other. Just, like you said, the highest frequency of love. I mean, love is on the top of our green zone emotional scale, right? So that is the highest frequency. So when we kind of love and accept and try to understand each other versus judging each other, then, we can all share in this wonderful experience. And so I think we're on the same page. And I also, one of the things that I share with you is I'm a big intention setter. So talk to me, because for every chapter, you are like, set an intention for this. And I'm a big believer, but can you share with our listeners today, what is intention and how do you use intentions in your life?
Right. Intentions have been a very powerful tool for me, where I literally every morning will set an intention of how I want to show up today. And it could be very simple, basic, or it could be, a little bit more. So, for example, and I actually, the vibration that we go to sleep in is the vibration that we wake up in. Right. So I even started at nighttime having a conversation about my intention for the next day. If I have something big coming up, and I want it to, I don't want to be all worked up in my mind over it. So I set the intention, to have more clarity tomorrow. And I can get very specific with what, if I'm working on a project, or it could be something, to have more patience with my kids today, right? And then my intentions, I take to a level of like where I actually visualize it. So when we use our senses, visualization, writing it out, saying it, right? We're embedding and amplifying what we desire. And so then throughout the whole purpose of an intention is to really declare how you want your day to go, or what you desire to have in that day. Like I said, whether it's patience, courage, discipline, not eating treats out of the treat cabinet, exactly. Whatever it is.
Yes.
And then you're on a subconscious level and a conscious level throughout the day, because you set that intention and have layered it, you're absolutely more likely, to have that day flow in the way that you want. I normally say it's like you can set the trajectory of your day by setting intentions.
Totally. Yeah.
And then throughout the day, when things come up, you've already planted that seed. It's already in your heart. You've already visualized it, and you've already talked about it. So you're able to bring that in and, move forward with the things that you want to focus on that day.
Yeah, I totally agree. The expression is your vibrations where you last left it. And so
I love that. Yeah.
So true that if you go to bed, you'll wake up the next morning and you can pick right up on that thing that you were fretting about, something that happened during your day, what somebody did to you, and it's just got a lot of momentum, right? Because, your thoughts can really create some momentum around, what you were thinking, and more thoughts that come that kind of match the same energy level. And so, so part of the intention setting is to start getting yourself in a place of really focusing, because that's what you don't want. Usually the things we fuss and worry about are things that we don't want, right? Things we don't want to create in our life. But sometimes it's really hard. You have to be intentional, right? To recognize, like, aware that, oh gosh, I'm just kind of falling into this pattern of thought without being really mindful of it, and really thinking about, okay, what is it that I do want? And even with a negative situation, you can say, what do I really want to happen out of this? If I'm having a fight with my child, really, I want to connect, in a deeper way with my child. That's an intention. I really want to have a more joyful and fun day tomorrow with my child. So even as a parent, you can use these negative experiences to propel you to, what is it that I want? What do I really want? What's resonating inside, in my spirit? And then prepay for the next day, right? You're pre-paving instead of going into it with the same energy that you just left the previous day with. So I really like that. And as a whole, you can use intentions, right, at a bigger scale in your life of what do I want to achieve.
What's beautiful about it, Vicki, also is that when you set an intention, it does take practice, but you're able to catch those thoughts, because now you're bringing awareness to your attention, right? So then when you have that thought, that negative thought coming in, you're able to say, oh, do I want to let that in? My intention was to enjoy this day today. How can I transition that? So it's asking yourself these questions. And it's beautiful when we can, just have this awareness that we have control over our thoughts. Like, who knew, right? I didn't know.
I know it's really so empowering to know that. I mean, and even when you know that, it takes work, but to not be subject to your mind is thinking. That's the brain, the function of the brain is to think, right? And it thinks all the time, and it thinks all sorts of different things, but sometimes we don't think about, like, well, we have control. We can guide our brain to the things we want to think about, and so our brain kind of runs, on its own, right? Runs crazy, and it might not necessarily be taking us down paths that make us feel good, And I have to say that sometimes the older you get, the more things you have to fuss and worry about. The more challenges that could present itself, and so if you don't stop and take control of your thoughts, and capture them, hold them captive and say, no, that's not a thought I want to think. The earlier you catch it, right, the easier it is to make that choice.
And we are human, and I am going to judge, and I am going to have negative thoughts, but at least I'm aware of it.
Right.
So, and then I never beat myself up, because that's low vibration.
Right.
We don't want to beat ourselves up over, saying we're going to do one thing and then it not working out exactly, because one of my goals is to keep my heart open. And when we keep our heart open, we can stay more uplifted and be in that frequency. So, I always say, don't ever beat yourself up over it. You're gonna let those thoughts in every now and then, but at least now, and what I'll just say, thank you, because now I'm one step closer to reaching my goal.
Right.
Because it takes practice, and it's having compassion for Donna.
Yes.
It's having compassion for ourselves, and that we are going to have, these emotions, and it's okay. But what do we do with them? Are we going to react or respond?
Right. How do you think self-love fits into that equation? I mean, we use self-compassion, but why do you think it's important to love ourselves, and especially when we talk about neurodiversity or autism, love our child, or if we're on the spectrum, love ourselves. Why would that be an important concept?
I feel that self-love is so essential to be able to allow and give our children permission to love themselves.
Yes.
So when we're the best version of ourselves, we're giving our children permission. And a lot of times children come into the world and they're feeling the energy from, mom, dad, having their true emotions, teachers, others, influencers, and just maybe, not being fully aware of words and thoughts are saying one thing, your body language is saying something else, and the energy is all mixed up. And I do feel that these kids sense that. They sense that energy. And they're very so tapped in and tuned into it more than we realize.
Totally.
We already know that they're highly sensitive. So it kind of makes sense. It makes sense. And so when you have self-love, it makes it easier for you to express and have that energetic connection, so that your children can receive that energy and realize that they can also, be the best version of themselves. And I feel like that will open doors as well for, to influence our world, knowing that they have that potential. I feel like it's hidden. Their potential is often hidden.
Yes.
And we need to just be more aware energetically. And I feel like self-love plays a very big role.
Totally.
How do we love others, including ourselves, more, right, if we don't love ourselves?
Yeah. And accept, the acceptance piece. It's like, our biggest desire is, that we're accepted by others. But, really what's important is that we accept ourselves, right? Instead of looking for others' approval, we approve of ourselves. We can find that within ourselves and reach that. But I will say, as a parent, there was a journey for me. I went through all the stages, and we talk about the stages of grief, and I went through that as a parent. And it's a hard place to be when there's not that level of acceptance for your child, for the child's diagnosis. And we went through that with our daughter, Gabby. We went through the denial phase, and then we went through anger. Why did this happen? And why didn't you fit this perfect, mold of what we thought you should be like? And now there was a lot of suffering in that. So, a lot of red zone in that, when, for first of all, for yourself. And then as we, as parents, influence our child so much, that the red zone energy, gosh, our child feels that, right? Even at a deeper level, or multi-sensory level, I can come out with a smile on my face, and Gabby could pick up on my energy right away. And so when I realized that, it became my my mission to say, Gabby doesn't need to change. She's created, this is the way God created her. This is a side of God. This is a piece of God. God created us in his own image. And so every single person, has that. And it's like, how do I align with that? And really feel that sense of, this is who she is. This is who she's created to be. And I'm not talking about suffering, because obviously if someone's suffering, you have to relieve the suffering. But I'm just talking about the person and who they are. And I will tell you, that was one of the biggest shifts, is just shifting and also being kind and loving to myself, because, hey, we're all doing the best we can. For all you parents out there, we are all doing the best we can with what we know. But the more we know, the better we can do, right? The better we can evolve, and the easier it's going to be on us. So if we can live in the green zone, meaning as parents, we can just make what we do okay. Tomorrow's another day, it's like, okay, I'm going to do a little better. I'm going to set an intention for tomorrow. And it's a daily practice, because we're never perfect. But I can't, since we're talking about love, and your book, The Highest Frequency of Love, that's a really big one. Loving our child, getting to that place where we're looking for things to love about them, where, we don't look at the challenge all the time, or here's an area where they're deficient. No, here's their area of strength. Here's their unique talents. Here's what makes them so special. And that can really help on the road to, to love, to self-love, and to loving your child for who they are. So you talk about, on the book, you talk about true self. You say, ask my true self this question. And how do you distinguish, what's your true self? Is it from your persona, or what? How do you distinguish that?
So an easy way to explain this, I feel, is often people, if you say the word should, oh, I should do this, I should do that. That's our mental conditioning from others.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider that a red flag, that's not really our desire coming from our heart, from our gut instinct, right? Mm-hmm. When you say the word I should, then that's not really what your go-to is. So when I say true self, it's like, who am I inside? Like right. That innate, I keep going back to that gut instinct.
Yeah.
And that develops as we kind of settle down the ego. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is all behavior change, and the way we think and act is basically, and I am a behavior change specialist, but that it's that when you create more space through stillness, through meditation, through catching your thoughts, all that stuff, it allows for more, I want to say more creative and more true thoughts. Like you can receive them more because you're not having all that chaos and external of what everybody thinks you should be doing and acting and what's right and wrong. Like, right?
Yes.
In your heart.
Yes.
And so, like, even when you do say something like you say something that you regret, like you feel that, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But we don't reflect on it normally.
Right.
Like, but all the signs are there telling us, right? Giving us the answer, but we're just not as tapped in and tuned in as we can be. And it takes practice. So that's what I mean by true self. When you start to like, not take things personal and taking your power back and not being defensive, like, how do we get to that place? And as you pursue that journey, I feel you get closer and closer to that, your true self.
True self. Yeah. Yeah. And almost, aligned your aligned self with like who you were really created to be. And, I judge it, another way to judge, and I use the zones, of course, because I always say, well, how does this make me feel when I think this thought, or when I'm asking myself a question and I give myself the answer, how does that make me feel? How does the answer make me feel? Because if we're coming from a place of anger or blame, we're going to feel it. We're going to be aligned with the red zone. But when we get connected, and sometimes it's just asking the question and letting it go, because
Right?
you're not ready to receive the true answer yet, because you're still, maybe in the red or yellow zone. But, as you ask, what is this here to teach me? Or what is this showing me? Or what is this, why did this happen? How should I best respond to this? Those kind of questions. And allow, yourself, when you're in a good feeling place, that's when you get your true self answer. Sometimes we have to wait on it to wait till we get back up into the green zone and then receive that. But when you do, and you start distinguishing that true self, from, yourself in a maybe misaligned place, And so you aligned is just another way, I think, to find that true self place that you talk about, which is so important, right? Because we have so much inner wisdom. And a lot of times we say, well, it's intuitive, I always tell moms, trust your intuition. You go into a school and you're there for a little while and you sense, is this the right place for my child? Especially if you've set intentions, you can get that. You can get that feedback, your first initial thought, and how you feel, you have that inner wisdom. Sometimes we just don't trust it. Right.
Yeah, that's another key word. And Vicki, you had said something about, I call it like trusting in the, trust in the timing, because exactly that happens is you ask these questions, you can't figure it out, but then, it happens, like you get the answer, but it's not the answer that you exactly thought. But in that situation, it turned out that, I loved it when I started to connect the dots and I could look back and say, oh, that's why it didn't happen then. Right. I wasn't supposed to finish this book then. I needed to go through this to finish this.
Right.
And now it's so much more valuable. And it's so, trusting and having that, faith.
Yeah. Faith is so big. Faith and trust.
Because we don't have all the answers and this,
Yes. We
so
don't.
I feel it's, taking that uncertainty and the doubt and the fear and working towards, trust and boldness and, knowing things that are going to work out, totally. It's going to take some time. But yeah, I liked that you said that. I related to that. And that was an epiphany for me when I was able to start to connect dots and clearly see that, oh, that wasn't meant to happen. This is why I got that concussion and I was,
right.
I couldn't read, I couldn't use my laptop. And then I ended up listening to an audio book The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Oh,
And it was literally what I needed. You know, so I went through that. So now I'm thankful for my concussion.
I know.
I could find the good out of it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think on our journey too, and it's the same with children, you know, we look at things in isolation. We look at this one situation. And sometimes I just don't think we have that broader perspective of like the bigger picture of how all this fits in together, you know. And so it does require a lot of faith and trust, you know, especially families that are challenged with, you know, gosh, trying to find the right schools or the right programs or the right, you know, next thing for their child, or trusting their child's going to have a future. You know, that's a big one, right? Because, you know, one of the most common fears for parents, particularly with children on the autism spectrum, is what's going to happen to my child when I'm no longer here, when I die. And that's a very fear-based, right?
Of course.
It's fear. It comes from a place of fear, and that's fears at the bottom of our scale. Very, very bottom line. And so what do we do with that, right? You know, because if we choose those thoughts, we know we're going to stay stuck in that place of fear, right? So the thought is, okay, I have faith that things are going to work out. Like I trust that the next step will appear. And I don't know how many times I use that from our daughter, Gabby. I'd go, Gab, I don't know how, but I know the right thing's going to happen for you. I know the right thing's going to fall into place. We'll see the right next step, you know. And it was always like just going on faith and trust. You don't know how, you don't know how it's going to work out, but instilling that, you know, and you could say hope, but, you know, I like to use trust that all things are working out for us. And that's a mantra, you know, that I use all the time. Everything is working out for us. All things are coming together perfectly. And if we could start developing that sense, we can move from a place of fear to a place of trust that, hey, you know, I don't have the answers, but I know that the path is going to unfold. I know there's going to be a solution to this problem. I know there's going to be a next step. I know we're going to find the right place, you know, for you. And just speaking those words, those are intentions, right? That goes back to intention.
And when we do that and we, you know, decrease the fear, we allow our mind is able to allow to receive the good ideas. Or, you know, I often say, please, you know, I ask for help with putting people in my path or in my son's path, you know. And I went from a very fear-based place with one of my sons, and I decided to take this approach of, and like I said, I feel like these ideas and these new ways were just kind of coming to me, and they just felt so right. Yes. And I stopped judging him, and I started really listening to him to listen, not to have a reply.
Right.
Listening to understand, and not trying to fix him, but believing in him and telling him that.
Right.
And it helped this relationship, rather than coming from my fear-based relationship with him and my fear of having, you know, he's doing everything wrong and forcing things for him to do this, try this, you know. Now I always ask permission if I find something that I think, you know, would be beneficial. I always ask permission now. Right. You know, is it okay for me to send you this? I thought this was inspirational, or whatever. But I feel that fear-driven place, you know, I feel like I lived in that pretty much my whole life, that reactive regret, shame, guilt, the majority of my life. So I feel transformed, I want to say.
Yeah. Now, was the transformation when you had that accident, and or tell me a little bit about what started the shift for you, you know, on this journey? Because you mentioned Michael Singer, and I'm a big Michael Singer. I believe so much in his work, but yes. So share a little bit about that.
So there's two things. So one of them was I had been molested for consecutive years as a child, but my brain didn't remember it. Like I couldn't remember it until I was a young adult, in my 20s. And I thought I handled it. I took care of it, right?
Yeah.
I wrote the letter, did all the stuff, and I'm not going to let it affect me, right? But I didn't realize how much it affected me physically, to move, to dance, to express, right? And finally, I made resolution with it. And I understood more on a higher level what forgiveness was. Forgiving myself completely, and forgiving others who have harmed me. But really, forgiveness to me was me forgiving myself for recycling all these years, replaying, questioning myself, and all that for all these years, like really making resolution with it. And I feel I have, because now I can talk about it without getting like emotional, and I consider myself the survival guide now for other women and other girls, and
that's perfect.
Traveling this path.
You've used your situation to help others, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then so that was part of this whole, forgiveness, self-love. I always considered myself confident, but when I realized, so now I'm taking dancing lessons because my body was so restricted, congested from the abuse.
Wow. So you could move.
For as long as I could remember, I'd wake up with my hands crossed over my chest and my ankles crossed, right? So think about that. Trauma stays with us on a cellular level,
right?
Till we accept, right? And so that was one of them. And then I had my son. This was really the game changer that brought me to my knees. Was he came to me one day saying that he was wishing for disease to take his life.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He didn't want to commit suicide, but this is how he thought. And of course, shame, guilt, how could this happen? Right. Asking all the, I was curled up in a ball in the dark, isolated. How could I couldn't help myself, let alone help my son.
Right.
So that was a big part of my transformation.
Yeah.
And finding that light inside of me that I feel I literally, Vicki, could turn it up like a chandelier, brighter and brighter, and used a visualization guided meditation to literally set my trajectory for the day. And I'd visualize a cord going from my heart to my son's. Forgiveness, compassion, love, light, music notes. I could feel it, and I could see him smile again. And that's what gave me that, I think I freed the light, right? That blocked energy to be the light for him.
That's so beautiful.
And I just have now been able to improve all my relationships. Totally. Because now I have this, and I have thanked my son for having the courage to do what he needed to do and change his habits and his thoughts and his situation. But I really feel, Vicki, without him going through what he went through, I may not have gone through, at least then.
Yeah.
What brought me to this place of surrender and faith. And yeah, so those were the two big things that definitely helped me plow through fear and practice.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we're in that place of, we're closed, or we're in the red zone, sometimes it's unconscious, and like you said, sometimes you tend to bury things down. But what happens, and it's Michael Singer work is, when you push things down, things that have happened to you or emotions, you try to push them away. The problem is they're still there.
Right.
And And sometimes unconsciously, something's going to trigger it, and all of that's going to come back up, you know, or we can react to situations, right? Somebody does something to us and we react right away, very, you know, from a place of, you know, whatever, fear, anger, or blame, or, you know, and so we react, and neither of them can get us to the place where we want to be, which is freedom from all that, freedom,
Absolutely.
emptying out. And that's the process I went through. I had pushed so much down, and I had so much, you know, just anger and, you know, resentment. Why did this happen? This is not, you know, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I planned. Um, and got to the place of just despair. You know, it's depression, despair, no energy. You know, it's not a good place to be. But when you make the decision that, you know, hey, I can do some things differently, I can start moving forward, you know, I can learn how to release some of this, or learn how to forgive, you know, whatever it is it's calling you, you know, to that place of back to alignment. Because I think we share that in common, you know, when you align, when you let your light shine, when your son connected, you know, even visually, I love that visualization of like connecting with a cord to your child, because that's the energy that you're putting out, you know, and they feel that the energy of love. Just, you know, when people feel that in you, it changes everything. It changes, like you said, your relationships, you know, your connection with people, because you're coming from an open-hearted place. Your heart's not closed, right? Even your hands over your, you know, cross, that's I'm closed. But when you start opening up, people feel that, you know, that true love, the true connection, the, you know, and that helps our children so much. And so I have to say, not knowing your situation, I'm sure that was a big part of your son, you know, trying to find his place of connection with who he was. I know it definitely did with our daughter, because she could feel that love, and that allowed her to kind of raise up and start connecting with who she is.
Absolutely. And also thinking about it, like, because this is what I think what inspired me as well to get this knowledge and awareness of energy was that one day he literally, I didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. And he said, I can tell you're disgusted with me. I can feel that you're judging me.
I feel it. Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah. And that's not helpful. And that is not what we want. And I wasn't like aware of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate, inspired to, you know, to share the tools that helped me.
That's wonderful. Can you share? So, you know, gosh, I know our time's slipping away here, but I do want you to share maybe some tools that you use or that you teach to help our listeners kind of, again, connect to who they truly are, connect to that frequency of love.
Right. So I want to share that every word that we speak holds light and energy. So we want to be, you know, aware of that, mindful of it. And maybe when you go to bed at night, and you're saying goodnight to your child, to set that trajectory for the next day. If they have something going on, if there's a new bus driver, or, you know, a change in venue, or a field, whatever the situation, especially if it's a change and they, you know, have anxiety with that, or are thinking about the worst case scenarios and talk themselves out of even wanting to go to the event.
Right.
So having a conversation with them about how they want it to turn out, you know, having that support and that direction can be very helpful. Listening to music at night with beats, binaural beats, is a great way to shift the energy. They have all sorts, you can YouTube it. There's all sorts of great music, and if they enjoy music, put the headphones on from it, and that can shift the energy before going to bed at night, as well as obviously like breathing techniques or a visualization. Encourage them to visualize whatever it is the next day they want to have occur, to have more ease and comfort and easy breezy, use those kinds of words that are light and uplifting, and that it's going to be okay. Right. And just reassurance and smiles, like all that's energy that you're just, your child can just absorb it. Yes. And have more of a chance of waking up in the morning and having more ease and comfort to step into the day. Auto suggestion is a tool that I use and that I've used with kids, where they share what it is that they want to do or as a goal, and then you set up like 20 phrases in the present tense, and you can record them in their own voice or in your voice. So that they can listen to it if it's in their voice, and they can learn to trust their own voice. And so it's kind of like that conditioning of your mind with, whatever it is that you want to do, putting a list together, and then they can listen to it, they can repeat it. And auto suggestion I've used, and I teach that, and people just love it. So those are a couple things to take away. I know we are crunching for time. Yeah, so
those are simple things that we can do. I mean, they don't require any additional, expense or anything like that. Love the visualization. Again, that's an easy one, is visualize yourself doing, what you want to do or how you see your day unfolding. Bring in the emotions. We're big into connecting emotions to it. So feel the excitement or the joy of doing something you love to do, that kind of thing. So connecting it. The auto suggestion is really good because your mind is like a computer, right? And I love that, like input in, auto suggestion in, and that's what we kind of see coming out the other side. So I think those are really simple. You also talk about the gratitude, just appreciation is a simple one too, right? You talk about in the book.
You cannot be in a negative state of mind when you're sharing gratitude.
Right.
And taking it to the next level, taking the gratitude, not just saying thank you, but thankful for what?
Right.
And, how does that make you feel? I thank every morning for the sun coming up.
Right.
To help have light so that we can see, to have warmth, and to grow our plants and our food that we eat. So taking it, I'm grateful, for my refrigerator. That sounds silly, but I'm grateful because not everybody's so lucky to have a refrigerator in other countries.
Right.
We get to shop and keep our food. It lasts longer. I'm just going from the extreme, but
yeah, sure. Yeah, you can always find something to appreciate. You can look around your house, you could think about your day and what might have gone well, maybe who you want to appreciate, the person that did something for you, or your child and what they did today, just always looking for focus of gratitude and appreciation. So those are really, really good, practical. And I would say, as parents, particularly, our actions and what we do is the biggest teacher for our children. So, as a parent, I encourage you to use these tools. If you're using them on a regular basis, if you're saying, gosh, I'm so appreciative for what you did. I'm so appreciative, for our daughter, we do appreciation so much. She is the most appreciative. She's the most appreciative young lady, but I think, oh my God, the most appreciative people are the happiest people. We always say that, but we demonstrate it. So as a parent, as you take these tools on and start using it and start showing your child how to use it, like Donna said, get into a practice, they'll get into a habit. of that becomes part of who they are. And really, these are positive habits that can really make an impact on our green zone life that we're all trying to live, right? We're all trying to live in a place of hope and appreciation and joy and spend as much time as we can there, right?
Oh, absolutely. Vision boards are also, I find, very helpful, and kids love, and
They love
adults love
doing,
doing a vision
yeah.
board,
Oh, I love the vision board workshops,
right?
cutting pictures or drawing. So those are all, again, great things to do. And again, I encourage you, for parents, to, get the book. It's got some great, some of these tools that Donna discussed today, but it's got some great insights in it, some great stories of different parents, moms and dads, and what they went through with their child, or what they learned. It's just, these are the types of things that are meaningful. And you title it Unconventional Solutions. I see them as more spiritual solutions sometimes. It's a spiritual approach to parenting that really is, there's some practical things. So it's not woo woo, oh, we're so spiritual. These are practical tools that you can use to really make a difference in your life. So Donna, I want to thank you. If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best place? I know you're on LinkedIn, but is there a website that you want to communicate?
Yes. So I have, I'm the founder of Evoke Change Center.
Okay.
And so that's the website. And also Donna Laitinen at evokechangecenter.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, if you have any questions for Donna, please feel free to reach out to her. And we're both on such similar spiritual journey, learning so many of these tools that can really make a difference in our lives. So it's been a pleasure having you on today to share these things with us. And I thank the participants who joined us today. And I look forward to seeing everyone again on our next Green Zone Talks. So thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.